Bienvenidos. Welcome to the City Council meeting of the City of Half Moon Bay, Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Brownstone?
Here.
Councilmember Reddick?
Here.
Councilmember Penrose?
Here.
Vice Mayor Rohrbach?
Here.
Mayor Jimenez?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. May we stand for the pledge? Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Move on to our proclamations and presentations. Tonight, we have a proclamation before the City Council of Half Moon Bay to declare September 2024 as Suicide Prevention Month. The week of September 8th as National Suicide Prevention Week, and September 10th as the World Suicide Prevention Day. Suicide is a devastating tragedy for families and loved ones. And it is an acute issue throughout every community in the country, including San Mateo County and right here in the coastside. Acknowledging suicide and the impact that has in our communities is an important part of the understanding how we can more effectively take steps to prevent suicide. The United States, suicide is the second leading cause of death for people between the ages of 10 and 34. Each year, San Mateo County, there are dozens of suicides and thousands of calls made to various crisis lines available throughout the county. There is no question. People are looking for help. The Half Moon Bay City Council urges residents to renew their efforts to support each other and helping prevent suicide. We can all learn signs of someone who is having a suicide thought. We can learn and use the right words to have direct conversations with them. And we reach out to help from the many county resources available to those in crisis and their loved ones. For information on those 3 key steps in suicide prevention, we ask the community members to visit smchhealth.org/suicide-prevention and suicidepreventtable.org. The San Mateo County Behavioral Health and Recovery Services Office of Diversity and Equity, the Mayor's Mental Health Initiative, and other partners in collectively organizing communities activities throughout September to bring more awareness to this important issue. This year's theme for 2024 Suicide Prevention Month is Love Over Loneliness. I would like to say one thing that I learned a few years back. I was at a presentation that we're talking about pretty much about suicide. And there's a difference, when you say a person commits suicide. Now the new way of saying is a person dies by suicide. And since I went to attend this presentation, it's been to recognize, that people go through these problems. They die by suicide. They don't commit suicide. We have a lot of signs out there in our community, and we're able to prevent simple questions about just acknowledging the person. How are you? Do you need help? What can I do? It's an issue in our communities. We have a problem in our communities. Young adults who are committing suicide in our county. I'd like to ask for a moment of silence. Thank you. We move on to a presentation. Matthew, I'd like to.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're going to do a little different approach tonight than we do for normal presentations. We will have a presentation from representatives from Seton Coast. We're grateful to have them here tonight. Following the presentation, as normal, the council will be able to provide comments and ask questions. Following that, we'll actually take public comment on this item. Typically, we wait until our normal public forum, but this is a pretty high-profile issue that is of great importance to the community. We have a lot of people that have come to speak tonight, so we've discussed it with the mayor, and he's opted to allow for that public forum. There will not be responses to those comments. We will not be answering questions because this is not agendized as a regular business item. So after the public comments, we'll be closing this item. And in the future, we could consider a business item to have more discussion if we wanted to. But for tonight, that's the approach we'll take. And hopefully everybody understands that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Matthew. So if you would like to comment on this presentation, you can please make your comment, but there will be no questions for us. And we know it's a topic that's very important for our community, and that's why we are actually giving you an opportunity to make a comment on it. Whenever you're ready.
Good evening, City Council, administrative staff, the public. I'm pleased to be here today. My name is Tim Schultz, Associate Chief Operating Officer for HMC Seton Medical Center. And with me is Fred Naranjo. He's Vice Chair of our Board of Directors for the hospital. I wanted to provide a quick update on the work we've been doing at Seton Coastside. I'm sure a lot of you are anxious for this facility to open back up. For those that don't know, Seton Coastside is a 116-bed skilled nursing facility, 5-bed acute care facility, and has a standby emergency department. And the facility was closed. It was a phased approach, first starting with the skilled nursing facility, where patients had to be transferred over to our main hospital, Seton Medical Center in Daly City, and then followed by the standby emergency department on April 1st of this year. So since the closure, there's been about $6 million that AHMC has spent on making repairs to this facility. A lot of those repairs were caused by excessive storms that we've had the last 2 years and the damages that those storms have caused to the facility. There's additional work going on right now to obtain permits from Healthcare Access and Information, HCI, which is the state entity that oversees building projects for hospitals across the state of California. Once those permits have been pulled and the work has been done, Seton Coastside is subject to relicensing by the California Department of Public Health, which oversees all of the hospital beds and services that are provided in hospitals in California. So that will require an additional survey that will be conducted by the CDPH surveyors when they come to our facility. Our target for reopening this facility is spring 2025 currently, assuming that weather conditions permit. We don't know what kind of winter we'll have this year, and if there's excessive storms, it could potentially change the forecast. But this is the current estimates that we've received from our contractors. We recently provided a tour to Dr. Claire Toutant, Dr. Deborah Penrose, and Dr. Marie President on the progress of our work. And all those that have attended, I believe, were very pleased to see the progress of the construction that we've made to date and the additional work that still needs to be done. And the new equipment that's also been ordered for this facility. There's been a lot of talks with expanding the services that are provided in our laboratory and in our radiology to meet a lot of the essential needs for the coastal community. And, the one thing that's important to note is we are 100% committed to reopening this facility and making sure that the standby emergency department continues to be here as well. But we cannot open this facility until it's safe for patient care and we receive all of the sign-offs from the regulatory agencies. So for those that are interested, HCI has a list of all of the permits that have been approved, the permits that have been submitted, and the permits that are still being worked on. And some of those permits include TV installation, washer dryer, right? Given that this is a skilled nursing facility, we're required to provide washer and dryer to all of the residents. The nurses station needs to get completely rebuilt. There was a nurses station that oversaw all of the residents and their rooms in that facility, and that nurses station had pretty significant water damage. So during the tour, the three physicians were able to see that the entire nurses station had to be completely removed. And there's a permit in place as well to rebuild that entire nurses station. Brand new nurse call light system, there's a permit for that, exterior lighting, corridor lights, the cafe and dining area needs to be completely repaired. And then there's also additional permits that are pending design work from our architects, and that includes the fire alarm system, the HVAC system that needs to be replaced, the kitchen that needs to be repaired, and then additional work for the emergency department. So that's just a quick update that I wanted to provide to everyone. If any of you are curious and would like to tour the facility, please don't hesitate to reach out. We just need a waiver, given that it's an active construction zone and there's a lot of potential risks that are in the building. So as long as there's a signed waiver, we would love to provide a tour for everyone here, the public, city council, and have all of you see the work we've been doing to repair and get this facility reopened. So I'll turn it over to Fred Naranjo.
Mayor, it's a pleasure to be here, and council members. It's a pleasure to be here. I just want to let you know my background a little bit. I come from a family of food disparity, inequity of health. I used to shine shoes at Seton Hospital. I used to get indigent care there. And this community has always been dear to my heart because I felt that the county has always neglected this part of the county. We've always had to fight for things. And I come back, I've been here many, many years. I didn't live in the community, but I spent a lot of time in the community when this was also a heavily Portuguese community back in the day. And I just wanted to tell you, I am really fighting because I've talked to some of the large employers here, and what they are telling me, and I've talked to some of the seniors, and what they're really telling me is we need to have a facility where there's an urgent care center so our employees can't take the day off, but more importantly, these employees that work here are not highly compensated. They're in the service industry. They can barely afford to live here. And they would like to see an urgent care center here. So I'm really fighting very hard because that's very important for our seniors because they don't want to go over the hill. They want to have physical therapy here. They want to be able to get their lab work. They don't want to have to go over the hill. And the people that work here, a lot of the underserved or hardworking people that live in this community can't afford to take the day off, go over the hill. So I just want you to know, as I'm a community representative on the board, and I really damn care about this area to get that kind of care. And loneliness, like you said, there's a whole population here of senior citizens, Hispanics, field workers, all lower income that are feeling the loneliness also. And what we want to do is build a facility that I know we're going to be proud of, and the community is going to be proud, and they're going to get benefit. We want to work, I'm pushing for that urgent care center to work around the employees that work here, not an 8 to 5 where they can't really go or they have to take time off from work and lose the benefit or lose the money. And I just want you to know that I care about this community deeply. I know this community well, and I care about the field workers. I care about, of equity of care and fairness. And I know that HMC is committed in helping this and doing this because they want to be a part of this community. And I blame myself. I should have been out here reaching more to all of you council people, to the different stakeholders in this community to learn. But I'm just making assumptions because I think I do know this community. And it was refreshing to see some of the city council people that I've talked to and some of the other people in this community that are telling me what they really want. And quite frankly, and I'm going to probably get in a lot of trouble for this, but I'm okay with it because I think I care about the community enough. I think, I appreciate Mueller, but I don't think he's listening to what you guys want or Mid-Coast wants. And I just want to stop all this fighting and let's work together to make this happen for this community. They deserve to have a better facility and something that we can all be proud of. And as long as I'm the community board member, I just want you to know you have my commitment and I will push this with ownership. And I'll tell you, ownership is very much interested in doing these kind of things. I don't want to have to come back here and look at any one of you members and say that I just sold you something that's not true. Because I take pride in transparency. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Mark Tucciose, and I'm Chief of Staff at Seton Medical Center. And I'd like to take an opportunity to represent the medical point of view of what we're talking about here tonight. First of all, Seton, as you all know, went through bankruptcy, and it was extremely tough. We had a couple of suitors, we had a couple owners come and go, and no one really put in any effort or money into improving the facility. AHMC, I'm happy to report that they have really committed not only in money, but also their vision, and that is to take care of the community. Very, very much what Fred was saying. And to that, what I'd like to tell you a story is that I'd always heard about Seton Coastside. Actually, when I first started practice, I came here for a little bit. And what we found was that, there was a big controversy about whether it should be an ER or urgent care. I was really quite surprised when I took that tour with Dr. Penrose, Dr. Toutant, and Dr. President to hear that they preferred that the current ER, and it's a standby ER, would be better served for the community as an urgent care center. I don't really wish to get into that, but I did want to look at the data as a physician and as a scientist toward medicine, and I just wanted to share a couple things. In the last quarter, Seton Coastside saw a total of 361 patients. Out of that, none had acuity of a 1 level, which is truly emergency room patient. Cardiac arrest, acute hemorrhagic stroke, need intubation, need chest tube, things of that nature. But they, in fact, saw 0 over the last quarter, and they only saw 19 that were level 2. And that might just be like unstable angina or pneumonia that, can't handle the secretions, things of that nature, but still is not as emergent as needed. So the fact of the matter is that we've only seen 4 patients per day on average over the last 3 months. And of those 4 patients per day, only 5% were level 2, and none were level 1. So if you look at how we take care of the community, to me, it makes more sense to provide something that the community can really use. And the data for me shows that the urgent care level is more appropriate. In addition, as I learned from on the tour, that when you step into an emergency room, the costs are probably triple, if not quadruple in price for the patient. So that's what I wanted to present to you as far as a medical point of view. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from public? No? No comment? No? The council? No. Council members? Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank the three of you for coming and making this presentation. I know there is a lot more to what's going on up there. We were on a, I think, 3.5-hour tour where we learned a tremendous amount about what was actually going on at Seton Coastside, and it's very impressive. It's a place that has been almost completely rebuilt and is being completely rebuilt with asbestos, with water damage, with buckling of the floors, with all sorts of things that were just outrageous from the damages occurred because of the storms this past winter and the winter before. I was very impressed with the professionalism, too, of the people that took us on the tour. We had the insurance adjuster there. We had the contractor there, the head of the contracting. And we had the three of you there and others. So I learned a lot. And what I learned was that you have the same sense, the same feeling that I have about what we need Seton Coastside to be. And that is, we need Seton Coastside to be a place where anyone in the community with any level of problem that needs to be seen that day can walk in and not get charged $1,500 because it's an emergency room. Yeah. And that's the level 1 cost of one step into an emergency room. You start out at $1,500. It goes up from there. So if you go into an urgent care and the urgent care is willing to take health plan of San Mateo, Blue Shield, Medicare, any of those insurance companies, and also cash-paying patients and charging them a reasonable fee, then you've got emergent health care here on the coast. It doesn't have to be a heart attack. It can be somebody who is having chest pain and doesn't know what's going on. Up until now, the emergency room at Seton Coastside, when somebody had chest pain, they were a triage center. The emergency room doctors would come in, they would say, this doesn't look good, let's send him to Seton Daly City or some other center where they can treat it, because we can't do it here. So it's never been a true emergency center in that sense, even though it was called an emergency center. I also really feel very strongly that the need to have skilled nursing facility here on the coast is critical. Our population is getting older, as it is everywhere in the county and in the nation. And we want to keep our older folks here with us. I have a sister who may shortly go into a nursing home. I want to be able to see her on a daily basis. And I won't be able to do that if she's over in San Mateo or San Carlos or God knows where, San Jose, where I can get her in. So those are the critical things. The other thing I wanted to say was that I think that the staff and the administration at Seton do care about the coast and do care about what we want. So I'm hoping that the people on the coast, that the general public will speak up and make their voices heard and write a letter to Seton. Email them. Get in touch with them. Tell them what you think is important. That's kind of all I have to say.
Vice Mayor.
My question is, what does it take to make Seton Coastside a true urgent care center? Anybody care to answer that question, please? Somebody.
You know, it takes support from the community to make that happen. I'm not advocating either way. You know, regardless of what happens, the standby emergency department will open once all of the construction is complete. But if the community feels that an urgent care facility is important for this community, you know, it's important that all of you make your voices heard. And I'll just leave it at that.
Speak
Can you
into
speak on the microphone, please?
We
Thank
have
you.
to let the Attorney General as well know that you guys want an urgent care center. And what does it take? It takes the support of this community. Like, for example, we're going to have a community room there so people can hold meetings there. But more importantly, it takes the support of this community. Ownership wants to do this because they feel that it will be better served for this community. But we need the support of the community to do this. So I beg of you guys to support us on this initiative. So again, and I'm just coming from a community point of view, but I know ownership wants to make this happen. And with all the things that you've talked about, everyone has talked about, you know, physical therapy, you know, a lab, all the things that you guys have to go over the hill. It has to be built around the needs of this community. It's not what we think. It's about the needs of this community. And well put about the you know, the senior, you know, acute, subacute facility. Because a lot of people that live here that are elderly don't want to go over the mountain. They want to drive to our facility. So this is not about, it's about what you guys need. And we're here to listen, and we want to help build this for this community around the needs of this community.
Can you give me some concrete way that we can express our needs so that we can actually do it?
Yeah, I just would,
Can you please, on the microphone, please?
sorry, I just wanted to make the point that HMC is fully committed to repair the current state of the standby ER as per AG. They're committed to do that. The question is, going forward, is that really what the community needs? That's the way I would choose to answer that one. And then what is it that you can do? Well, to me, you have to convince the AG's office, Rob Bonta, what the community really wants. Is it Mueller's point of view, or is it, you know, the community's point of view? And that's what you're going to have to do. Is it a campaign writing effort for myself, just being the chief of staff and representing the doctors there? I'd like to bring it up before our medical executive committee, where we have representatives of all the department chairs and all the facilities of radiology, pathology, anesthesia, and see what they think. I know what I think. I've already formulated an opinion, but I'd like to present it to the rest of them, and maybe also we would write a letter on behalf of the MEC. So I think it's convincing Rabanta that you would be better served with a urgent care.
So if the city council were to write this letter to Bonta, you think that's helpful? Is that right? Thank you.
Any more questions, comments from council? No? Yeah, so a quick comment. The coast is a growing community, you know, and what I see right now is the need for both, you know, for urgent care and emergency care. I don't know if you realize the traffic that we have to deal with, you know, moving out of the coast into the other side. So having a urgent care and emergency care in a hospital here in the coast, it will be a great benefit. Maybe the numbers are not showing it right now because we don't have them.
The EMS that comes and takes that, because that facility doesn't have all the tools necessarily to take care of that person. They take them to the nearest emergency hospital, whether it's Seton, whether it's Sequoia, whether it's a Peninsula, because they don't have the kind of manpower to take care of that. If it's something like a massive heart attack, they could stabilize it, or someone comes in and then sends that person to one of our hospitals. But if there's an accident here, you know as well as I know, EMS is not taking them to Coastside. They're taking them over the hill.
That's exactly my point. You know, that's why I'm saying we need both. We need urgent care, and we also need emergency care. So what will it take, you know, for them to actually invest in a hospital that will provide both of the services?
A full urgent care center, is that what you're saying? A full-blown urgent center?
A full-blown urgent self-care care center and also emergency care.
A full-blown emergency center will cost a ton of money to
So do
staff,
lives.
The equipment, and the issue is, it's the volume. It would be, you know, it would, I don't know what ownership would say.
I'm saying, you know, it will cost a lot of money, but also the lives of the people in the coastside also matter.
I agree 100% with you. I agree totally with you. But I'm saying to you, as it is right now, we're not a full emergency center to take care of those type of people. And to do a full emergency, I'd have to talk to ownership and see what they say.
You know, there's a thing that, you know, as it's better to have it and not needed it than to need it and not having it. You know, so kind of, you know, it's what we need in the coast. I mean, we're serving the coast. We go all the way to Pescadero. Anybody from Pescadero to get over to San Mateo, over the hill, would take 45 minutes in an emergency. Anybody here at Moss Beach is the same, I mean, not much of a difference. You know, and that's why we wanted to listen to, you know, your presentation. So what do we need to get both services here on the coast? Because we need it. We're a growing community. And traffic is not getting any better.
I see your point. I would have to just say from a medical point of view that the degree of support that one needs to have a real safe and high quality ER requires a significant number of people to do that. I know you would like to have emergency services here. However, it would be very, I would say, extremely difficult to reproduce a full ER service that can take level 1 and some level 2s to take care of it. So the best solution is, in my opinion, is to triage appropriately and try to get your community to appropriate care at an appropriate facility. I was just having 2 meetings today about the emergency room. There's just so many layers of complexity and coordination that needs to happen, and it can't happen at a small little one-man supposedly emergency room. What maybe I can make you feel a little bit more at ease is if I can show you more data for the whole year rather than just for the first quarter, the last quarter, where you will see that the majority of patients, greater than 95%, are going to do just fine. And as long as we can provide good backup to Stanford, to Peninsula, Sequoia, Seton, wherever the patient would benefit, then I think that would be the better solution. But that's just my opinion.
Are you repeating here on the weekend onto traffic coming out of Half Moon Bay over San Mateo? So it's just, something that we really worry about our community. Make sure that they receive the care that they need. Any other comments or questions? No. So we're going to go to our public comment. Joyce Logan.
I wrote this before the presentation, but I think we're in line for a lot of things. Our coast side could be called an island, made up of folks who call this home and others who visit. While we are an island, we are in a healthcare desert. We have close by access to a few excellent physicians who provide care, but when their patients need lab work, we have to go over the hill to urinate in a cup or have blood drawn. When we need acute care urgently at 8 p.m. or on weekends, we have to go over the hill to an emergency department. When that occurs, if it's only a sprained ankle or a cut that needs suturing, we may wait for several hours for treatment. True emergencies come first, level 1 and level 2, as the physician was talking about. When we need short or long-term skilled nursing or rehabilitation, we have to leave the coast side. There are not enough beds here. We deserve better. We deserve medical care here. I dearly hope that those who have the resources and power find the will to make these three elements happen sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim Brown. No Jim Brown, no. Susan Goodman.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. I'm Dr. Suzanne Goodman. I was a dedicated Seton Coastside physician for the last 25 years. I'm also a UCSF clinical professor. And yeah, just have been involved in caring for this community over all of these years. I would just agree with you that I think that both urgent care and emergency services are needed in this community, and just want to make a couple of additional points or questions. So one of those is, I agree with Dr. Chiosi that about the first quarter, and can just also report from 2023 that about 70 of a little over 1,600, about 1,640 patients were severity 2. And that over the last 5 years, I would say there was not a huge number, but a handful of severity 1 patients that I was involved in caring for. When I think about that in 15 months, that's about 90 patients. So 19 from the first quarter and about 70 from 2023. And that's not a small number. I will point out about those that some of those were significant trauma, severe shortness of breath, chest pain, sepsis. And patients, those included 3 major tree-related injuries last year, horse falls, and MVAs. So it's not just triage, it's also stabilization for lots of those patients. And as I just agree with you that sometimes that 45 minutes, a life is involved. I want to point out that there are a couple of things that concern me. One is that urgent cares can turn away non-insured patients under Title 22, and also lacking EMTALA laws, urgent care would not prevent patients from being rejected or transferred to the county hospital because of inability to pay or coverage under federal health care programs. I still, and I think all of the Seton ER physicians and nurses felt that the storm renovations were an inappropriate context to close Coastside ER. without, and we still really haven't seen impact studies of the traffic and of the losses to levels 1 and 2 care. I think there are a few things that we would recommend, and one would be, we're glad to hear that HCI has these permits, but there has not been a lot of transparency in seeing the permits. I visited the ER again today. I've not seen any renovations to the ER, the internal aspects of the ER itself. That concerns me. I also just want to point out a couple of other things. There's still, if you call the ER right now, still today, you get through to the ER up at Maine, but you don't necessarily get some kind of a message that says, hello, you've reached the Coastside ER, we are currently closed. I mean, it's possible that the person answering the phone up there is not going to say where people need to go, or the fact that they shouldn't come there, that they should go directly. And just also that in terms of signage, it would be great to have signage in Spanish about the closure down on the main road. So those are the few of the considerations that I raised, and I'll just finalize by saying that I also really still believe that ER as well as urgent care, I'd love to see both, but I still think ER is a needed service here on the coast.
Thank you. Sandy Winter.
Good evening, members of the council. I'm here to represent older adults. It's been said by a number of individuals how important it is, particularly for older adults, to be able to access healthcare on the coast because many of them no longer drive. My understanding is that the health plan of San Mateo County has about 25% of their of people on the coast are able to access the San Mateo County Clinic just across the car park, but that leaves 75% of the population who are not health plan of San Mateo County participants and who have other kinds of health insurance and need to go over the hill. So I think that having health equity, having a place where everybody can go to access care, no matter what insurance they're on, is something that's really important. I also want to point out that 2.5 years ago, Half Moon Bay and the Coastside became members of the age-friendly network of the AARP. And as part of that, we developed an action plan that involved healthcare advocacy. And under the leadership of Harvey Rarbach and Lisa Rossi, they brought together a group of diverse healthcare providers from Kaiser and Seton and Dignity, and really were looking at a collaborative model because for each individual healthcare provider, there aren't enough patients on the coast to be able to support those individuals. There's just not enough demand. And so having some kind of collaborative model where it doesn't matter what your health insurance is, you can go to a facility and be seen, I think that that is going to contribute towards health equity here on the coast. Thank you.
Thank you. Hall Wagner.
I had not been aware that this item was here, and I have a great deal of respect for a lot of the medical practitioners involved, but I also had, unfortunately, a real soul-searching experience with a fellow who is a mid-career professional, changed out of international finance to go back and do things for people and got a nursing degree at, I think, UCLA or USC, and came up and found at Seton Coastside, at Seton Daly City, that the ownership was starving, absolutely starving the hospital of supplies that were needed and things like that. So I'd just like you to make sure, besides these other questions, that there's really sufficient funding to provide the level of care that these practitioners, are doing their very best to provide, because that's also a serious issue.
Thank you. Patricia Stevenson.
Good evening. This is kind of a close to the heart subject for me. I worked at Seton for the last 24 years. I have some concerns because emergency rooms are open 24 hours. Is our urgent care here going to be open 24 hours? And most urgent cares only treat illnesses, nothing, injuries that aren't life-threatening. ER rooms can, stabilize you and get you to a higher level of care, and time is of the essence of many things, stroke, heart attack, etc. I know the seismic retrofitting and rebuilding of Seton started with the Verity ownership, and it's just been a continuous ongoing thing. And I had gone by the hospital after they closed in April several times, and only once did I see construction trucks up there. Much unlike when I was working there last December, there was always many, many trucks up there. Our lab has been closed pretty much since COVID. It's been open sporadically for 2-3 hours a day, little intermittent periods of time. There's no real community outreach to let them know that they were open. So, of course, business was slow. We haven't had radiology or physical therapy on the coast for years. We were always kept understaffed. We had no social worker after I left. Well, actually, for about a year before I left, which was not right. And most people didn't even know we were open. Many people always question me, oh, the ER is still open? Maybe had Seton HMBCC done a greater community outreach, we would have had better business up there. And yeah, I don't want to go much further. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. That concludes our presentation with comments.
I have a comment on Zoom,
Yeah. Oh,
Mayor.
please go ahead.
Connie Santilli?
I represent this in alignment with Sandy Winter in the age-friendly coalition that has started here on the coast side. Again, want to lend, from that perspective, as the chair, our support for moving to providing urgent care services on the coast as well. In addition to just the community itself, we also tend to not concern ourselves, but should, with the large number of population that comes here every weekend. There is a lot of people that come to the coast. I live in El Granada. It is packed over here every weekend. Without any kind of medical support over here, it's extremely dangerous, in my opinion, that the traffic, as you mentioned, is just can be really difficult for people to get in and out of here. And again, along with Sandy, as representing the seniors here on the coast side, highly supportive to present an opportunity to get some urgent care services here on the coast side. And we'll work with our group to make sure we do reach out to the Seton community to help voice that through writing and whatever else you think is appropriate to do so. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sorry, we're thirsty over here. Move on to mayor's announcements. Sorry.
So just one observation, we've gotten a lot of information this evening. It's not all been consistent. Reputation counts, in terms of where people are going to go for care. And yeah, I read Nextdoor once in a while, and there's positive comments, negative comments about experiences at Seton. If a place has a great reputation, they will come. And hopefully there would be improving reputation. I've heard some comments about funding, et cetera. I think, I know that the county was involved in saving Seton from bankruptcy not too long ago. And I think the county maybe asks for information from new owners about the issue about urgent care versus emergency room. I recommend that we also just get more information from county health and get their sense of any kinds of information they've been collecting, just so we can have more data and information and have them come to a meeting soon and give us, their, assessment, or if not an assessment, just a presentation of what kind of information they've got and what they know and what kind of information they're asking for, or that might still be needed, would be helpful.
I'm just wondering if the council would like to write a letter to Rob Bonta, is that something we could propose to do tonight? Is that allowed?
So this is just agendized for presentation rather than
Right.
decision-making, but you could direct staff as part of future items to do that. We could, I guess I'd defer to you, Matthew, for a future, I'm not sure of the timing of this, but it could be done and then brought back at the next meeting.
Okay, can I do that now, or do we wait till the end where we do future agenda items?
Wait till the end.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Move on to mayor's announcements. September 21st, we have, thank you for your presentation, very informative.
Good evening.
Hold on.
Not quite ready yet.
Okay.
We'll invite you up. Sorry.
We'll get you again. So, we having coming to the summer events and the Pumpkin Festival and busy highways. So yes, make sure you stay safe. We have a lot of events happening for the community, and one of them is we presented to you to an invitation. So I'll just leave that for you to present and move on. Do we have any reports from our closed session?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. The council did meet in closed session prior to this evening's regular meeting to discuss two items. The first item, conference with legal counsel regarding the existing litigation entitled Paul Nagan versus City of Half Moon Bay. The council took no reportable action. I will also note that the mayor did not participate in that item. And then the second item that was discussed was the annual performance evaluation of the city manager. No reportable action. Thank you.
Thank you. City manager updates.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have 4 items we wanted to discuss or share tonight. The first is an update on some community education activities that have been taking place and coming up. And we'll hear from Julissa Acosta. Oh, okay. It looks like the slides are in a different order. So we'll have an update on climate action and adaptation plan from Matt Nichols from our Public Works Department.
Good evening, City Council, members of the public. My name is Matt Nichols. I am the Public Works and Sustainability Management Analyst for the City of Half Moon Bay. And this evening, I'll be doing a quick update on the city's climate adaptation plan. So for a brief overview, the city has 2 plans. One's the city's climate action plan that we recently approved. That's looking at ways to bring down the city's carbon footprint and be more sustainable. And then we have the city's adaptation plan, which is looking at ways for the city to prepare itself for some of the impacts of climate change, like bigger storms, wildfires being more frequent, things like that. And so looking at those potential disasters and the infrastructure that the city has and ways that we can harden our infrastructure to be better prepared. So again, the city's adaptation plan is looking at things like winter storms, droughts, sea level rise, wildfire, but we're also looking at other less tangible things like communication, internet access, and other hard infrastructure and things like that. Currently, we're in phase 2 of the city's adaptation plan. There's 4 phases total. And for phase 2, we've been looking at the vulnerabilities that we gathered from doing public outreach in phase 1. We asked the community to give feedback on some of the different things that affect them as residents, as well as looking at some modeling that we've done, looking at, once again, your flooding, your wildfire, mapping assets, not just city-owned assets, but other agencies, as well as homes and personal infrastructure. And then from that, we compiled a matrix table that ranked all those. We modeled them to get an idea of the different severity that those hazards might have based on location. And we're basically doing outreach now to take a temperature check on that matrix table. So as you can see in the hall right now, we have some boards if people want to come and look at that later this evening. We also have an online survey happening. And so that's an opportunity for people to kind of look at some of the top issues that we've found and weigh in to see if we're on the right track for that. Some findings from our last phase of outreach, we reached out to a little over 300 people. We had over 300 individual touch points where we talked to folks about the climate adaptation plan and got their feedback. Some of the top 3 findings from that phase in terms of their concerns and their worries were concerns about coastal erosion, power outages, and road blockages. One thing I do want to point out is that while the city's adaptation plan doesn't look at evacuation, the city is also working on its hazard mitigation plan, which I believe does consider evacuation as a factor. But some of the things that could lead to evacuation issues, such as downed trees, are being considered. So those plans are very much intermingled. As I said, we're wrapping up our phase 2 right now, doing the public outreach for that. We'll soon be beginning phase 3, which is where we're going to actually start working on the adaptation strategies. We have a great team that's going to look at all this data that we've gathered from the public and from this modeling and start looking at ways that the city can be proactive and get ahead of any disasters or incidents that could hinder us. So we'd love it if we could get your feedback with our current survey. We'll have that open until about the middle of the month. If you want to come meet us in person, we'll be at Make It Main Street this Thursday from 3 to 5. And then we have our survey online at hmbadaptation.considerit or on the city's adaptation website, which is hmbcity.com/adaptation. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Do you have any questions for him? Comments?
Council members, any questions? No?
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Matt.
All right, thank you. Now we will have our wonderful and very eager Chair and Vice Chair from our Recreation Commission, RJ Jennings and Paulette Eisen, to talk about our upcoming Summer's End Music Festival. And
just got introduced by the city manager, so
there you go.
I'm just...
You got the clicker.
I got the clicker.
Sorry, John.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Vice Mayor and City Councilman for having us. We're happy to be here to give you an update on our Summer's End. Before we do that, I want to let you know a few things that we're working on. One is that we're moving our venue to the IDS Hall. They have graciously offered that space for us to use for our event. We think that having a nice, small, intimate space will serve everyone. It'll allow the parents to relax a little bit more and let the kids run. The music will be right there, and then our merchants will probably also be happy with us taking up the entire front main street. So we're going to give that a try this year and see how that works out, and a big thank you to the IDS Hall. They will also handle our beverage concessions and food, so they've really stepped up to help us out. Number 2, before we get started, is that this is a request also. A request to ensure that an invitation to all of you to join us, because we want to use this as a way to thank the community. It's a Summer's End. It's, as you know, as our mission states, the mission of Summer's End music is to build community, promote unity, and create multicultural opportunities for involvement and engagement through music and activities. And we really want to feel that we're representing our town, you, and we'd love to have your voice on stage. So between now and the 21st, we're going to try to get on your calendar and set you up with times for you to be up there and bring your voice in to welcome our community. So those are the two invitations. Anything else that? Well, I just want to say that we're very fortunate to have managed to get some terrific music lined up for September 21st, so everybody make sure, put it on your calendar. It's going to be a great event. This is in the outdoor, this is outside the IDS hall where usually the pumpkin weigh-off is. So we're going to have a kids stage, we're going to have two performances there. We're going to have the very popular caricature draw master, you know, who does fantastic work. Lines are usually very long for that. The henna tattoos, and what was the other thing for the? There was one more thing that doesn't come to mind right now. But so we have La Misa Negra, which is a band that I heard a couple of years ago and I thought they were just great. And then I found out they were from Oakland. So, okay, local, they're gonna, let's see if we can get them for this event. And we've managed to book them, very excited. The other two bands are really good. 3 bands, all of them great. Get your dance shoes on and come on out on September 21st. Also, because we ended up, the Chieftains, who are a terrific band as well, they were supposed to perform in August, but they ended up having to be postponed until September 14th. So that's coming up. Put that on your calendar. That's at McDutra Plaza. Make sure to come out and support our program of music and culture and cultural events here in Half Moon Bay.
What are the hours?
All right, at McDutra, it starts at 4 and goes until 6 on the 14th, and then September 21st for the festival, for the Summer's End. I think we start at, we're starting at like about 11 and going until 5 or 6, yeah. Right. So
La Misa Negra, who've opened for the Red Hot Chili Peppers, for Stevie Wonder, so well known in the music world. They will have 2 sets. We are bringing them in, so they'll be our last 2 sets that we'll have. So they'll have the main venue. I see Crystal is here, and she's always a big part of what our offering. And so, of course, we're going to continue to invite you in and do some raffles. Paulette's really good at getting some gifts and raffles and shaking things loose here in the community so that we can entice our public to stay around and enjoy. So we're looking forward to it. And just a big shout to Eddie Burrell and his team. Have done a lot of research and gotten the bands for us, and so they did a lot of legwork. And they're always doing great work behind the scenes. So want to let.
So we're all excited about that. Hope we all see you, everybody in this room. Hope we see you all there.
And we will see you there, right?
Yeah, I already have my dancing shoes ready.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now we will get some information on some community workshops that we've held and upcoming from Julissa Acosta from our city manager's office.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and community. I will talk to you about a few workshops that we hosted over the last couple months and some upcoming that are very exciting for the community. The first one is really close to my heart. When I first started in this role, I was tasked to host the first mental health first aid training a couple years ago. That was thanks to partnership with the San Mateo County, and that was hosted fully in English. We invited the community, and it was free. We got a lot of great feedback, and there was a question about when can we do this in Spanish. Now, it took a little bit of time because somebody had to get certified to provide this training in Spanish, and our amazing partner, Tony Serrano, got certified a few months ago. Thanks to a partnership with the San Mateo County again and ALAS, we were able to provide the facilities for this training. We hosted our first mental health first aid training fully in Spanish. We had about 12 attendees from all kinds of ages and all kinds of backgrounds. The community shared that they were really happy to receive this training. They were able to remove taboos. They became more aware of what mental health is, and now they can speak more comfortably about suicide prevention, and they receive resources and tools to improve their mental health awareness and connections to the community. And they also express that they would like to get more of these trainings in Spanish. So we look forward to partnering with more of our friends and bring this training again. The next training series of trainings that we hosted a couple parent workshops. This was brought on by our COPS grant, which is to improve public safety in the community. And this set of workshops are particularly geared to our youth and parents with youth transitioning from middle school to high school, and to prevent gang exposure. These workshops have been hosted here at Ted Adcock, at the library, and are fully in Spanish again. We do partner with COSI Hope and Boys and Girls Club. We've also reached out to the school district and the high school to identify some of those families who could benefit from this type of trainings. And we're really happy to hear the feedback from the community. They've also learned resources and parents had access to information and tools about how to improve their communication with the youth, how to encourage open dialogue, and connect to other community resources and programs that are out there for their youth. The first training we hosted was called The Best Prevention Starts at Home, and it was hosted here. Second workshop was called The 10 P's of Being Papa, which was directly intended for male-identified parents. And that still required a little bit of more outreach. We will be working with our parents out there, but we hope to be successful in the future. And I'm excited to share that we're hosting a new workshop next Tuesday, September 10th, from 6:30 p.m. to about 8 p.m. at the Opportunity Center in the classroom. It's completely free, it's fully in Spanish, and we encourage parents to participate. And the last workshop that I'm bringing to you today, we were approached by the United Coalition for Immigrant Services through COSI Hope. They're an organization that provides services for legal immigration matters that are either free or low cost. And they were looking for a facility, and we were happy to open our doors. We'll be hosting them on October 1st here in this very room. The whole event will take place from about 8:30 a.m. till 5 p.m. The morning session will include relevant topics related to immigration and parole in place and other important subjects on immigration. And the second portion of the day will be one-on-one consultations to those who are ready to apply for citizenship. The team is going to bring consultants, and they will be able to sit down with one of them and help them fill out the applications for naturalization services. So hopefully most folks who are ready will be able to walk out with a completed application in their hands, just get ready to be mailed. So we're looking forward to hosting that. I'll come back as we get closer to the date to remind the community of this amazing opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, I have a comment before we go to the next one. I would like to recognize the organization Puente de la Costa Sur for being a pioneer on bringing mental health education into the fields. It was Puente, remember, 2017, that started going into the farms to invite farm workers to learn more about what mental health is. You know, among the Latino community, the farmer community has always been a taboo about talking about mental health. It's not easy to do outreach when related to that. In Puente, COSI Hope, the city of Half Moon Bay, ALAS have done excellent work. There was a study that was done among migrant field workers, and I was not surprised, but I was very concerned. You know, there was a study was done between late 2020 to early 2021, and the study showed that 98% of the farm workers during that time were actually dealing with the high levels of stress, anxiety, and depression. You know, and suicide was pretty high as well. And before it was not recorded, it was not recognized. And now I'm very happy to see the collaboration, Tony Serrano, who became certified, to present this to his community and see our community members that are now, being certified to be a peer counselor to the rest of the community. And I hope we continue to do that, to provide more training to our community related to mental health. So, excellent job. Thank you.
Thank you, Julissa, and thank you, Mayor. I did also want to share mental health first aid training is something that's fairly new to the coast side, and much like regular first aid training, it's something that we really want everybody to receive and understand how to identify mental health crisis and what to do in those cases and how to get people help. Much like you would do with traditional first aid. Many of our staff and library staff, Boys and Girls Club staff, and even school district staff have received some of this training already. The library continues to offer this to members of the community in English, and now being able to provide it in Spanish because Tony Serrano's been trained, expands it to many more members of our community. So if you're in our community and you are interacting with the public especially, I think it's really important for you to learn about this and get that training so that you can be a resource to people in need and be able to identify the warning signs and know how to get them help. So it's something we want to see continue to spread throughout the community. So thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. We move on to our next presentation.
All right. Finally, we have an announcement about our Future Leaders Civics Academy with Colleen Latier and
Maggie
Rodriguez from our clerk's office.
Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. Like Matthew said, we are here to talk about the awesome Future Leaders Civics Academy program. This is our third year holding it, and it is our Leadership and Civics Academy for high school age students, so students in the 9th to 12th grade, so any high school students. And this year we will be hosting it September 18th, 25th, October 2nd, and 9th, and during the 4 sessions, we provide opportunities to learn about the inner workings of local government, and it's an election year, so the project that we'll be focusing will be on elections, and it will culminate in a mock city council meeting where they get to play the role of our wonderful city council, and they really enjoy it, and you can see in the photo, this is them at the mock city council meeting practicing their power poses. That's something we learn. So that's just one of, public speaking skills, preparing a presentation. It's just a really great opportunity for youth to engage with each other, to engage with us, to speak with council members, and they had glowing feedback last year, so we've been working with them to help spread the words to their friends, to encourage them to take the program this year. We were at back to school night. We were at a mini service jam where we may or may not have bribed them with pizza, but we're hoping to get another great batch of kids this year. So if you know any youth age or high school age students who want to learn and be leaders, then send them to hmbcity.com/youthcivics, and they will earn up to 20 hours of service credit. So that includes, the 12 for the program itself, but then we always give bonus hours, watch a city council meeting or volunteer at our elections night out event. So there are plenty of opportunities for them to engage with us and have the youth get their voice heard in the community. Any questions?
Any questions? No, but I'm looking forward to it. Oh, we have a question.
Just a comment, participated last year in watching the mock city council meeting. I was blown away by the talent in that room, and I felt that a lot better about our future, that there are future leaders in the room who can take care of business and very concerned and really presented themselves very well. So thank you for having this session again.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm excited.
Yay. Move on to public forum. We have any cards for public forum? Thank you. Paul Nagengas.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and City Council. My name is Paul Nagengas, live at 229 Valdez Avenue, which is District 3, and I am running for City Council in District 3. As part of my canvassing, I'm hearing a number of different issues or concerns, but something that came up, and I promised that I would bring this forward related to the housing element. There were two things. One item was to make sure any of the comments from the public or the community would be submitted as part of that element to the state HCD. And the other item, and I didn't know how to answer this or where to find it, and this is a public forum, I don't expect an answer back either, but a couple of times it came up about if somebody has a lot in the opportunity site, and this becomes part of your housing element, which then becomes part of the general plan. How does that, if somebody tries to sell their property, I wasn't quite sure, is it, we've heard that you can't, if you don't want to build on it, the city's not going to make you, but people were asking, well, once if I sell it or once if I build something less than maybe what it was designated for? And it was hard. I couldn't find an answer directly to that, so I promised that I would bring it forward, which I did. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. Rocío Ávila.
Buenas noches, miembros del concilio y presentes. Mi nombre es Rocío Ávila, miembro del Comité de Viviendas Justas de Alas y líder comunitario. Quiero hablarles de la importancia de contar con más viviendas asequibles para personas de bajos ingresos. La vivienda es un derecho humano y fundamental que todas las personas merecemos para vivir. Reduce la pobreza y mejora la calidad de vida en la salud, estabilidad y seguridad. Ayuda a reducir la desigualdad y promover una sociedad más equitativa. Y mejora la educación en los niños al sentirse seguros y estables. Contar con más viviendas asequibles para personas de bajos ingresos es crucial para promover la equidad, la inclusión y el bienestar en la sociedad. Muchas gracias.
Good evening. My name is Rocío Ávila. I am a member of the community and part of the committee of housing and a community leader. I want to speak to you regarding the importance of having more accessible dwellings to people of low income. Housing is a human right and it is fundamental because every person, we need to live in one place that is dignified. To reduce the poverty and improve the quality of life in the health, stability and security. It helps to reduce the inequality between promoting, and it's also promoting society, a society with more equality, and improves the education in the children and feeling secure and stable. Having more housing, accessible housing for people of low income is crucial to promote equality and inclusion and the well-being of the society. Thank you very much.
Gracias, thank you. Julie McHamey and Jim Bills.
First of all, I wanted to say I'm really happy that I heard that Finian's Call Band is going to be playing at your show, or the Finian's Call Band. No, okay. Thank you.
In January 2024, we applied for 2 Measure D allocations. Our goal was and is to build a single-family home on our lot at 147 Kelly Avenue. First, we were told that in order to get an allocation, we actually had to apply for 2 allocations because we had to build an ADU in addition to the single-family home. So we were forced to build 2 structures instead of 1, doubling our costs. But okay, we moved forward with the design, adhering to every detail of the allocation criteria, and we paid the $1,700 to submit by the deadline of January 31st, 2024. Finally, on April 30th, we were told we missed the allocation cutoff by 1/2 point. 1/2 point. We were also told that there was a very good chance we would receive an allocation in September because only 4 of the downtown allocations were used, therefore leaving 17, plus the downtown bonus allocations. And these allocations would be most likely transferred by City Council. So I was told to reach back in August to find out more about this, which I did. I reached out about the transfers, and I was told, quote, City Council has decided not to make any transfers, unquote. Upon further inquiries, I learned that somehow between April 30th and August, the 17 downtown allocations plus the bonus had been distributed. And so I learned that evidently there are 2 sets of rules, one for downtown and one for the rest of us. The rest of us, the non-downtown applicants, had to have our applications in within the window of January 1st to 31st in order to apply for the 2024 allocations. Evidently, developers building within downtown can apply anytime. I also asked who received these 17 plus the bonus downtown allocations. I asked for a full accounting of all allocations. I was told I had to file a PNR, I think it was, for that information, which I have done. I have not received any follow-up. So my question is, were all the remaining allocations assigned to Stone Pine? In the Measure D code, it states that any single developer can only be assigned 5 allocations per year. In summary, we agree with the spirit of Measure D. We are glad we have Measure D, but we feel the current allocation system discriminates against a property owner outside of downtown core wanting to simply build a single-family home. And we also question the process in managing the downtown allocations, the 2024 downtown allocations, the lack of transparency, the different set of rules, and ultimately the council's decision not to do transfers this September, October. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Tim. Good to see you. Hall Wagner.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I spoke here a month ago, but Mr. Mayor, you were recused from the matter that I spoke on. Harvey Rohrbach, the vice mayor, reported about that issue, which was the petition drive that we'd run to put something on the ballot that didn't go forward to the Mid-Coast Council. And I wanted to set the record straight with respect to something that might have been misled or misunderstood. Oh, thank you. So I'd like to read a letter which I read at public comment to the Mid-Coast Council last Wednesday, August 28th, and provided to appear in their minutes, which was, on behalf of the Let HMB Voters Decide Committee, I wish to address the Mid-Coast Council to correct Half Moon Bay City Council Vice Mayor Harvey Rohrbach's assertion at the August 24th Mid-Coast Council meeting that Half Moon Bay's city attorney told the City Council that the petition to referend the denial of 3 appeals against the city's approval of a 5-story building at 555 Kelly Avenue was illegal and had to be denied. That was, at a minimum, misleading to make certain that his suggestion that Mid-Coast Council members were thus possibly acting improperly be dismissed. The attorney asserted that the subject of the petition was an, quote, administrative act and not a, quote, legislative act, and thus the City Council had no obligation to accept it as a matter of law. As we warned the City Council by letter on August 5th, this is a position that not all of the city's planning commissioners agree with. However, ultimately, it is a question that could be taken to a judge, and it turns out that there will be little reason to spend time and money litigating for a simple and more democratic reason, which I will explain. In fact, after extensive public comment, Councilmember Debbie Ruddock made a motion to set a further special meeting 2 days later to give the Council the option of respecting the expressed wishes of 1,000 plus Half Moon Bay voters who signed the petition in just over 3 weeks and placing the referendum on the November 5th ballot. The city attorney did not intervene. Sadly, the motion died for lack of a second, and as a result, the committee to let HMB voters decide will gather signatures a second time when the city completes their negotiations to lease the city-owned property to the nonprofit developer, an indisputably, quote, legislative act, and the city will face having to schedule a special election some months or so later. I then asked the MCC members to share this letter with their fellow members and to enter it into the record, and I'm going to submit a copy here and ask that it be entered into the record here as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody on Zoom? No, no more speakers. Can we get a motion to for the consent calendar? We're gonna put item 1C.
Motion on the rest. I move that we approve the consent calendar. Item 1A, waive reading of resolutions and ordinances. Item 1B, approval of minutes. Item 1D, response to San Mateo County Civil Grand Jury Report, assessing and reporting internal controls in San Mateo County agencies and school districts. Item 1E, professional services agreement with Cloud Permit, Inc. for a cloud-based permit software solution.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'd like to take care of the item now.
Yeah, I just kind of have a quick question on the conflict of interest code. I'm just curious as to why we would remove the deputy city manager from the requirement to file papers. I mean, they've been on the code, why take them off? It seems to me as an executive in the city that it seems to make sense to have them continue to file pursuant to government code.
So we replaced it with the assistant city manager since that's the position now budgeted in the budget. We don't fund a deputy city manager position.
Okay.
If at some point we do, we would add it back. It's the same that we added the assistant city clerk and took out the deputy city clerk. Yeah.
Okay.
So we populated it with the positions that are actually funded currently in the budget.
Okay, thank you for that. So I would move that we adopt a resolution amending the conflict of interest code.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We're gonna take a 8-minute break. See you back at 7.5 minutes. Who wants more? 850, see if I got 850. Thank you. Now move on to our ordinance and public hearing.
Mayor, would you like me to go ahead and provide the overview of the process?
Yes, please.
All right. Council and community, this is a public hearing item and an appeal. So the process is just a little bit different than a regular business item. This, of course, is the appeal of the Planning Commission's decision to deny the coastal development permit, architectural review, and setback variance for a new residence and accessory dwelling unit at 595 Creekside Court. In terms of process, I just wanted to note that under the council rules of procedure, the applicant / appellant, Gabriel Gonzalez, will be given 10 minutes to speak. And may reserve some of that time for rebuttal if you wish. Otherwise, you can use up all of your 10 minutes in your remarks. And then upon the opening of the public hearing, each public speaker gets the typical amount of time, which for most, for council items is 3 minutes. I'll note, I don't think we have a lot of speaker cards here tonight, so it's up to the council's discretion, but the typical time is 3 minutes for general comment on a public hearing item. And then, as the mayor typically does before the item, I do want to note that this is, it's an appeal. There are due process concerns, and so the next item is for the council to state any ex parte contacts that they may have made with either the applicant / appellant, any neighbors, or if they have been on site and what they observed. So the idea here is just if there's anything that you observed personally, this is the time to disclose any of those ex parte communications. So Mayor, if you want to go ahead and ask your colleagues about that.
Council members, do we have any ex parte communication with the appellant? I did. I had actually a couple phone calls with Gabe Gonzalez. He mentioned to me that he has sent a letter to City Council. I did not visit the site. I'm not very familiar with the location, but we did have a couple of phone calls and a reference to a letter that he sent to me. But there was no discussion on the letter.
I've had no ex parte.
I've had no ex parte.
I got nothing.
Thank you.
All right, Mayor, with that, and I assume that letter that you referenced is part of the record?
Correct.
Okay, great. With that, Mayor, you can go ahead and ask for the staff presentation.
We have ready for a presentation.
Thank you, Mayor Jimenez and members of the City Council. I'm Scott Phillips, and I work in community development, senior planner, and I'm presenting on the appeal, the Planning Commission's decision to deny a new residence and attached accessory dwelling unit at 595 Creekside Court. Now, this slide shows the site and surrounding area, and this just involves Lot 10, which is 595 Creekside Court, on the corner of Church Street and Creekside Court. Now, the subdivision improvements are currently under construction on the site, very close to where the meeting's taking place tonight. And the site is within the commercial downtown zoning district as well as land use designation. Pilarcitos Creek runs along the back of the property. And the project under consideration includes the construction of a 3,521 square foot, two-story single-family residence that includes a 500 square foot attached accessory dwelling unit, or ADU. Now, the required permits, as Catherine mentioned, coastal development permit, architectural review, and a setback variance to allow the building to encroach into the street-facing side setback along Church Street. Now, the application was submitted back in 2022, and the design of the house, as well as the rest of the houses along Creekside Court, were reviewed on several occasions by our Architectural Advisory Committee. Now, the Planning Commission review took place last February, and the Planning Commission approved all the residences except for the home and ADU on Lot 10. The applicant was given direction to redesign the house to meet the street side setback, in which the applicant did. There was, well, for the most part, there was some redesign that took place, reducing the encroachment from the original 5 feet to, or increasing the setback from 5 feet to 10 feet. Now, this slide shows the site plan that was reviewed at the second time by the Planning Commission on June 25th. And ultimately, the decision was to deny the application. Now, this slide shows the floor plan that was reviewed on June 25th by the Planning Commission. On the left is the first floor, and on the right is the second floor. Overall footprint is roughly 2,500 square feet. Now, the outline in blue sort of highlights the attached ADU. And then this slide shows the front elevation facing Creekside Court. Notice the 2-car garage, and then the prominent gable on the ground floor houses the ADU. Interior side elevation facing west. This would face the house to the west that was approved by the Planning Commission. And then the north elevation facing the creek. Now, this is the street side elevation facing Church Street. Now, this is an important slide because this would be the most prominent elevation out of any building in the entire subdivision, at least from Church Street. This is what would be seen the most. So I think the applicant spent quite a bit of time on making sure that there was plenty of articulation that met our single-family residential design guidelines, and the AEC, they certainly spent a little more time on this elevation than some of the others. A rendering was also prepared that from the perspective of Creekside Court. Now, a little bit more about the street side setback variance. The variance to allow the new residents to encroach 5 feet into this required 15-foot street side setback was initially requested, but then on the second design, the house was pulled back to 10 feet. Now, this slide basically shows the portion of the building that encroaches into the 15-foot side setback. Now, on both occasions, both Planning Commission meetings, staff was supportive of the variance because there are some unique circumstances that are applicable to the site. For one, the creek in the backyard, sort of a classic situation for a unique circumstance, as well as the corner lot on a cul-de-sac. And that, as you can see on this slide, there is some land between the property line and the curb, which would be landscaped as part of this project, but provides a little bit of a buffer between the actual subject property and the roadway. Now, the building as proposed would encroach 5 feet, And then there would be an extra 10 feet between the actual building and the curb. So in a sense, there is some additional space that would normally be available for 15-foot street side setback. And the city engineer has reviewed the plans and concurred that there isn't a safety issue along the corner in regards to line of sight for anyone walking or driving or riding a bike. Now this slide also illustrates the portion of the building that actually encroaches into the street side setback. The line on the left shows the 15-foot street side setback, and then the red vertical line on the right shows the property line. And then similarly, these are the floor plans that show the portion of the house that encroaches into the street side setback. Now with the appeal, filed by the applicant and landowner, he included statements of the appeal or grounds. So I'll spend a little time just going through the statements that were included with the appeal. Now, statement 1 mentions that the decision of the Planning Commission was actually a split vote, that 3 of our commissioners were not supportive of the variance and 2 were. And the 2 planning commissions that were supportive of the variance referenced similar previous variances that were approved by the Planning Commission in the past, and also cited the unique circumstances that were identified in the findings for the variance. Commissioners were able to make the findings for the requested variance. And they also emphasized the high quality design that was noted by our Architectural Advisory Committee. Now, 3 of the planning commissioners were not supportive of the proposal, primarily due to not being able to see a necessity for granting the variance. That examples of similar variances with ADUs, or similar residences with ADUs exist in our town with a similar size lot where a variance was not granted. And then the 3 commissioners that were not supportive of the variance, they were not able to make the findings. They felt that there wasn't circumstances unique enough to the site to where they were supportive of the variance. Now, this statement 2, this is something that the council should be aware of, and this has to do with an exhibit that was prepared during the review of the subdivision, and we referred to it as the developable or buildable area map, and this was prepared to sort of net out the riparian buffer, the roadway, and other undevelopable areas to give the future housing developer of a sense of what area was developable. Now, in relation to all the lots, they were consistent for the most part with the underlying zoning requirements, but that was not the case with Lot 10. There was an error that was within this developable area map. Now, the map on the left shows the developable area for Lot 10, and you'll notice that it calls out a 5-foot setback. This was conveyed to the developer at an early phase before he went out to design the houses, which, in all honesty, was a bit of an error, that we provided him with a little bit of false information. He went with this information, designed the house. Later, right around the review by our Architectural Advisory Committee, it was discovered that the buildable area map that was prepared did not convey the correct street side setback of 15 feet. So the decision was made, the house was designed architecturally, that he would move forward with requesting the variance. The statement of appeal was correct in that this information was conveyed to the applicant, but it was never, we double-checked with the city attorney's office and went through the public record, and this was not something that was approved by the Planning Commission or City Council. It was more of an informational item that was prepared during the review of the subdivision. Now, statement 3, staff was, as I mentioned earlier, staff was supportive of the variance request because there is a unique circumstance to the site. The creek, as I mentioned earlier, and sort of the unique arrangement with the cul-de-sac and the corner lot. So the statement of appeal number 3 was correct, that yes, staff was supportive of the requested variance. Now, in order to meet the 15-foot street side setback, the house would need to be redesigned and narrowed. And one of this statement of appeal mentions that in order to do so, it would create the narrowest house on Creekside Court. And staff double-checked on, the houses that are across the street, across Church Street, and all of the houses across Church Street are wider than 30 feet. So without granting if the variance was not granted, this would force the developer to design a house that would be the narrowest house, not only on Creekside, but this portion of Church Street. So there is a little bit of a concern of compatibility with, not granting the variance. Now, numerous new residences and ADUs have been designed and constructed on narrower lots, not necessarily in this neighborhood, but other portions of the city. And with conversations with the developer, he has mentioned that he doesn't feel that there would be compatibility with the rest of the houses with designing a house and ADU, that he feels that it would probably force him to eliminate the ADU from the project. But again, this is sort of more of a design issue than it is, whether or not, it's possible to meet the findings for the variance. Now, similar to the appeal statement number 3, as I mentioned, there are some unique circumstances that are applicable to the property that would allow the decision maker to make the findings of fact for the variance. And as I mentioned, the city engineer did review the plans for Lot 10 and confirmed that there isn't a line of sight issue along the corner. Now, and just, for the record, just wanted to mention that, we did post a legal notice in the Daily Journal for the meeting tonight. We also mailed notices to all the neighbors within 300 feet and posted the site. Story poles were installed per the city council policy on story poles. And we didn't receive any feedback from any neighbors except for one letter of support, which was attached to the staff report. Now, as mentioned in the staff report, the city council has a couple of options just to be aware of. You could, after reviewing the project, you could deny the appeal and affirm the Planning Commission's decision based on the draft resolution in attachment 1. And then the other option, the other key option would be, granting the appeal and reverse the Planning Commission's decision. And we also prepared a resolution for granting the appeal and attachment 2. And of course there are some other options too, but those are the two key ones that staff sees as the potential options for the city council. And then Catherine went over the sort of the meeting format a little bit. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions. So,
do you have any questions from council?
point of the setbacks? Why do we have setbacks of a certain amount? I'm sorry. What is the reason for the size of the setbacks or of setbacks, period? What function do they serve?
Yeah, so specific to the corner lot, there is a larger setback of 15 feet. And it's tied to the single-family residential design standards. So.
I know it's a standard. I'm wondering why.
Well,
What's the point of having 15 feet? Why not have 13 feet?
Yeah, part of it is access to sunlight and open space and fire district requirements. But it is, with the 15-foot, more than the minimum required. So, for safety purposes. This is really and truly a zoning requirement. So.
For safety requirements?
There is not a safety concern with a reduced setback in this case. It's purely a zoning requirement.
Gotcha. So it's something that's on the books that doesn't necessarily translate into something that is for the better good of the community or the homeowner or the neighbors.
It would not create a hardship on any of the neighbors by reducing the setback in this case, and it wouldn't create a safety issue or anything of that nature.
Great, thank you.
Any question? Would the setback actually prevent the developer to build an ADU?
I think the applicant would be better equipped to answer that question. He has mentioned to me that he doesn't feel that he would be able to prepare a design that would be compatible with the rest of the neighborhood if he were to include an ADU and still meet the required street side setback.
Any more questions? No. No. Pellen, you ready?
Good evening. Did everybody receive and read the letter from Chad Hooker? Okay, great. So, good evening, Mayor Jimenez, Vice Mayor, council members. So, we do have a very unique circumstance that requires special consideration here. And I know that Scott emphasized that quite a few times and did a very good job doing that. So we're hoping for a favorable outcome tonight. We've invested millions of dollars on an approved project that was basically compromised by some bureaucracy with our main house coming in to our amazing development, the main house being compromised. In not only our development, but the entire community. It would be a sliver of a house that would no way be able to accommodate an ADU if we reduced it to 30 feet. We did some magic and we reduced it to 35 feet from 40 like the other homes, and the architects did a really good job reducing it, but there's no way we could reduce it to 30 and keep an ADU. The ADU would be out with a 30-foot house. Chad Hooker did emphasize, Councilman Penrose, your question, Chad Hooker did emphasize on the corner lot setback. He did say that the 15-foot side yard setback requirement at corner lots was first proposed and passed as a safety measure to provide better visibility from a corner lot. So that's basically line of sight. There is no line of sight for anything but the trees in the creek. So that variance approval would not diminish any line of sight, would not interrupt anybody making any turn in any way. We would still have 19 feet from the curb. from the curb of Church Street to the house, we would still have 19 feet. So, having said that, going to these planning commission meetings, I've been building homes professionally for 35 years in San Mateo County. On the night of our planning commission meeting on June 25th, I really felt very disrespected by the council members by not being very dismissive to the responses and the blatant audacity to just simply deny our variance request. The actual position, they didn't listen to our position in any way. If it wasn't for council members Rick Hernandez and Commissioner Ruddock, we really would have been out of there in 5 minutes. They really fought hard to put in and relay their position on justifying why they should approve the variance. So with that said, I'm sure that you've already heard or read my appeal letter, and the appeal letter is pretty direct on our position and states quite a few facts on the setback, on the aesthetics, the compatibility. The compatibility of that house would stick out. So that house, instead of being a beacon of light of an entrance into our development, it would stand out negatively. So I respectfully ask for your support in our variance request, because this is our last shot to keep the integrity of this amazing development. Thank you. Any questions?
Do you have any questions? No. Thank you. We do have speakers. We have 4 speakers.
Thank you.
The appellant has about 6 minutes left, so if there is a need to do any rebuttal, that time is reserved. You can go ahead with the rest of the public speakers.
Mr. Gonzalez, do you understand that you have 6 minutes left? You would like to appeal? To rebuttal or comments? You do have 6 minutes left on your time. Just want to make sure that you understand that you can rebuttal any comments from council.
Okay, so is there any comments?
Yeah, we're going to go to a public comment first, and then we can come back to you.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Edgar Alcala.
Hello, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Edgar Alcala. I'm here to express my unwavering support for the approval of the variance request on Lot 10 at 595 Creekside Court, which is essential for the completion of the Creekside Court development. This project represents not just days, weeks, or months of work, but rather years of dedicated effort from the entire team since the start of the project in 2021. Every aspect...
Edgar, can you speak close to the microphone? Thank you.
Every aspect of the project has been carefully designed with the parameters provided by the various stages and department of the City of Half Moon Bay. The team has meticulously coordinated each of these steps over long spans of time, often facing unforeseen circumstances, such as managing a delay right in the middle of an ongoing infrastructure construction phase to amend the final map, or returning to the drawing board with input from the AAC and Planning Commission meetings. Their dedication to this project has prevailed, and they continue to manage these challenges every day. Today, I ask the City Council to consider their efforts and grant the flexibility needed to produce the best long-lasting product for the City of Half Moon Bay and its residents. The variance being requested is not about seeking special treatment. It's about ensuring that the project remains consistent with the character and appeal of the community being built, while preserving the functionality for future residents of this neighborhood and reaching a fair and equitable compromise that allows the completion of what was started while staying true to the vision of what is being diligently worked on. I thank you for your time and consideration of what has and will be presented tonight. I hope that you consider the complexities of this effort and this request. Thank you.
Thank you. Nate Gonzalez.
Hello, and good evening, City Council members. It's a pleasure to be here with you. My name is Nick Gonzalez, and I'm here approving the requested variance on Lot 10 in order to remedy what I view as an incorrect decision by the Planning Commission. I'm a lifelong resident of San Mateo County. I'm a policy advocate, and I'm a current law student. And through my work and while in law school, I've learned a few things about the need for predictable and stable laws that are upheld by consistent standards from the government we entrust our faith into. And it's this need that the Planning Commission has fallen short of meeting by denying the requested variance. At the meeting where the Commission denied Lot 10's requested variance, it was indicated by at least one commissioner that larger variances had just recently been approved by the same set of commissioners. That being the case, I have seen no compelling reason why the Commission would grant those other variances yet deny this one that is smaller in scope and leaves the neighborhood around it undisturbed. Arbitrary decisions like this from the Commission create unpredictability, they create instability in the codes, and they effectively discourage people from wanting to build in Half Moon Bay if they cannot rely on consistent standards from the Planning Commission. Not only does the Planning Commission's decision undermine consistent application of the city's codes, but it also imposes an unfair burden of time and costs on the builder. The builder fairly acquired this property without any variance required, only for such a requirement to be imposed before presenting the whole project to the Commission. In Mr. Hooker's letter, he indicated that the need for imposing the variance was caused by a clerical error. It would be unfair to impose the consequences of that error on the builder who came into this circumstance through no fault of his own. If denied this variance, the builder would have to spend additional time and money redesigning the project to accommodate the smaller space imposed through no fault of his own, and as already stated, would no longer be able to accommodate an ADU. Decisions like this effectively stall and stop construction of much-needed homes at the community's expense. As someone with a stake in the future of a county in dire need of a larger housing supply, I strongly and respectfully urge that the City Council reverse the Commission's decision and approve the requested variance. Thank you.
Thank you. Charles Kissick.
Hello. I had a few things I was planning on saying, but they all have been covered pretty well by everybody, Scott and Mr. Gonzalez. And so what I want to focus on now is the behavior of the Planning Commission. They started the meeting off by saying, we hate granting variances. And from that point on, it just didn't get any better than that. As Mr. Gonzalez said, he felt disrespected, and I saw that the whole time. And I thought, well, if they don't grant variances, what reason will they have to not grant it? And I thought, well, the only viable reason would be the line of sight with the side yard, the corner setback being 15 feet. The reason for that is lines of sight on a busy road where cars are coming down the street. But this property is at the end of a cul-de-sac, so that issue doesn't exist. So I thought, well, that's not a reason to deny it. But they just didn't seem, that the three people who disagreed or did not grant it just didn't really seem to listen to reason. They kept talking about compatibility themselves in a way that they thought that the current design was not compatible. But I thought, well, the proposed design, making it narrower, is less compatible. And so I didn't quite understand where they were coming from on that. And finally, there was one point where Mr. Gonzalez was talking about all his delays and redesigning, paying the architect, all these things is creating somewhat of a financial hardship, because it's costing him extra money and delays too. And one of the commissioners basically said, I don't believe you. I don't believe it's a financial hardship. So that's, to me, was very disrespectful. So that's, as Mr. Gonzalez was talking about the disrespect, that was an example of that. So to grant this variance, I see it doesn't harm anybody. It's not noticeable. Nobody's going to say, oh my God, that house is so wide. But they might say, oh, that house is kind of narrow. So it just doesn't make any sense to not grant the variance. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave, wait.
Hi, City Council. I'm Dave Waite. I'm partners with Gabe on this project. We did buy this property a little over 2 years ago. The subdivision was already approved, and we've taken it to where it is today, where we've got most of the road going in the next few months, and 11 of the homes approved with design. We've submitted the plans for the fourplex with affordable housing last week. So we've been through a long process in just getting these homes approved, working with the city, with the AAC, as far as the subdivision goes, the Planning Commission, there was 2 members that were very vocal, and they expressed and explained why they thought it was a special circumstance. The Planning Commission, from the very beginning, has been very supportive of us. We didn't really intend to request a variance. All the other homes didn't require a variance. We just ran into us when we went to the design. We just saw that there was an issue with this particular lot. And also, by the way, I wanted to mention that on all the lots, we looked at adding ADUs on every single one of them, and we did. We did add ADUs to 3 of the other homes because they fit. There's never been any neighborhood complaints or any letters or anything. There's been a lot of support, a lot of really good comments about the architecture. Every home has been designed specific to the lot because they all have a different buildable area, and so basically every home looks unique. They're going to be very beautiful. I think that's, as far as hardship goes, I mean, we didn't think it would take 2 years, but we're moving along. We've run into problems with the bank, interest rates going up, just taking longer than we expect, but everything's moving along great now, and we're very positive about the development. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Council members. We have.
Alexia?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Hello, good evening, council members. My name is Alexia Huerta, and I am in favor of the approval of the 5-foot variance for Lot 10 of the Creekside Court development in Half Moon Bay. As previously mentioned, these variances were already approved in the past, and denying this decision now will not only place an unfair burden on the builder to redesign the whole structure, but it also leaves Half Moon Bay and San Mateo County with one less accessory dwelling unit. Housing is an imminent issue in San Mateo County, with an increasing number of families struggling to find a place to call home. For this reason, every unit matters, and the Creekside Court development in Half Moon Bay should be approved for the 5-foot variance as requested. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Brianna?
Good evening, members of the City Council. My name is Bree Gonzalez, and I'm here today to express my support for the approval of the 5-foot variance for Lot 10 in Creekside Court development. This variance is crucial for the completion of the project. As we've heard, the variance was originally approved. However, in a surprising turn of events, it was revoked earlier, just as the development was nearing completion. What we're asking for today is fairness and consistency. Denying the variance now doesn't just stall the development, it imposes unnecessary financial and logistical challenges on those involved, potentially impacting the overall success of the project. Approving this variance would not only help complete the development as originally intended, but also ensure that the city uphold its commitments to developers and property owners. We believe that consistency in decisions is key to fostering trust and encouraging responsible development in our community. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. No other speakers.
No speakers. Thank you. Council members, comments.
Yeah, I'm in favor of upholding the appeal. My understanding of variances is that there's more to it than just finding a hardship, that you can also look at an area and make some assessment about whether a variance is needed, based on the unique site and the characteristics of that site. So that said, I think this is a sort of an isolated, unique subdivision with a limited number of properties. It's not close to any other, residential neighborhoods where it might have an impact. I don't see a line of sight issue here. And I think making it consistent with the other homes in the subdivision is a good idea. I don't, he's made a real effort to, reduce the incursion into the setback, which I appreciate. I understand where the Planning Commission was coming from. They were sort of focused, I agree with Chad Hooker, on the hardship issues, but I don't think they really looked at the site in and of itself and the relationships to the buildings and to the rest of the community. So I'm going to support a resolution to uphold the appeal this evening.
Yeah, I'm a little confused about the issue of the impossibility of doing an ADU. I can understand not being able to do one without a redesign, but why there could be no ADU in a home that was narrower doesn't make any sense to me. ADUs can go wherever you need to put them, pretty much. So I don't buy that argument. I also think that the Planning Commission has a very, very difficult job. And when they say, I hate variances, I can understand that. You don't want to be making exceptions for people because you like the way they look, or you don't want to turn down exceptions because you don't like the way they look. You got to do it, and you have to do it for good reasons. So I think the Planning Commission probably did a very thoughtful job trying to come to a conclusion. I am, however, going to uphold the appeal because I agree with everything that's been said about the reasons for the variance. I don't see a line of sight issue. I don't see safety issues. I think there are times when variances should be allowed because they make sense. And this ultimately just makes sense to me. And narrowing the house down by another 10 feet does not make sense to me. So I am in favor of it.
Thank you. Council members, Vice Mayor.
I was prepared to uphold the Planning Commission's decision to deny the variance, partly based on the fact that I want to support Planning Commission because they're the experts on land use, and also my appointee voted to deny the variance. But I have been persuaded by the arguments tonight from both the appellant and the speakers and the two council people who have spoken. So based on what I've heard today, I am prepared to uphold the, it's very confusing, to uphold the appeal. Yeah, thank you.
Council member.
I agree with my fellow council members. And Scott, thank you very much for your presentation. It was very thorough and informative. I really appreciate that. We don't have in my experience, we do not have a frivolous planning department that simply grants variances willy-nilly. They're pretty careful in staying consistent with prior variances. I thought there was a great explanation of the unique attributes of the lot. I know 3 commissioners said it wasn't a necessity. I'm not even sure exactly what that standard necessarily means in granting a variance. I don't think this variance in any way sets up some sort of dangerous precedent. The planning department has made a thoughtful analysis in granting the variance in sync with prior variances. I did watch the Planning Commission on video after the recording, and I thought the opinions of the 2 commissioners who disagreed with the majority just held more weight for me in rewatching it. So, yeah, I think we should grant this appeal.
Thank you. It is not often that we actually go against, the decisions of the Planning Commission. They are the experts, but in this case, as I concur with the council members, that would like to grant the appeal. And we have enough evidence. Scott, staff, great presentation. Mr. Gonzalez, thank you for presenting your point. It's very valid, and we'd like to do that. We'd like to grant the appeal. We need do we need a motion? Or?
Yes, I move that we grant the appeal.
Second.
Can I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Brownstone?
Yes.
Councilmember Reddick?
Yes.
Councilmember Penrose?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rareback?
Yes.
Mayor Jimenez?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We move on to our resolutions and staff reports.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Tonight, we'll be presenting to you on a contract for professional consulting services to develop objective design standards in response to some state legislation. So the consulting services that we're looking to contract out would be used to develop objective design standards. The funds are currently budgeted in the approved fiscal year 24-25. It was planned to have that in there. And so that is already within the work plan. So as in preparation for this, staff put out a request for proposals, and we received 6 responses from various firms, and we narrowed that down to 2 who we interviewed, one of which was MIG, who we are looking to work with moving forward here. We also, after selecting MIG, met again to revise the scope and potentially reduce some of the costs associated with this. The state legislation that these objective design standards would be developed for is SB 35, but more so SB 423. So SB 35 was put in place back in 2017, but SB 423 has expanded it to the coastal zone, whereas before SB 35 alone was not applicable within Half Moon Bay. So now, effective January 1st, 2025, SB 35 will then be applicable here and the requirements associated with it, which the goal of SB 35 is to streamline and have ministerial approval for projects, specifically projects that have affordable housing associated with them. So there are standards and qualifications to meet SB 35 or SB 423, and those are likely to come in at some point. So as part of this, jurisdictions can implement objective design standards, and those objective design standards would then be used to streamline this process and be able to approve or deny projects based on those specific standards and ensuring that they're going to be compatible with zoning, land use, and the community's character. Some of the projects that this would be applicable to would be multifamily residential as well as mixed-use projects and potentially transitional housing or supportive housing. Amendments associated with these objective design standards would be made to the municipal code within 3 different chapters, as well as in some sections of the local coastal land use plan. The work schedule, as proposed by MIG and also within our request for proposal that helped shape that, focuses on early coordination and research, as well as community engagement, and then creating some different design options that would be prepared into objective design standards, which would then go through the process of public hearings and eventually the code amendments. And this would include working with AAC, the Architectural Advisory Committee, Planning Commission, City Council, and the Coastal Commission to ensure that this will meet their standards. The estimated schedule would be a 6-month process, but with a goal of having these objective design standards in place as close to January 1st as possible, but likely in early 2025. So our recommendation would be to adopt this so that we can move forward with starting these objective design standards, and the total budget would be for $170,000 approximately. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any clarifying questions? Yes.
So I know we're not under the same restrictions for choosing a design consultant or a professional services consultant as we are for bidding construction projects. But did we, get a cost proposal from the other firm, and how did that compare to this one? I mean, this seems like a lot of money, and there's 5 different employees working on it. And it seems to me a lot of this is crafting language. And I know you need some outreach and stuff like that, but I'm having a real hard time wrapping my mind around the $149,000 proposal plus 15% contingency for a not to exceed of like $170,000. That just seems, excessive to me. Like, did we get another cost proposal?
Yes, so all of the proposals that we received included a cost estimate. This actually, once revising the scope, was the lowest of the proposals. Prior to the revised scope, it was within the same range as all of them, but this has actually reduced it.
It seems awfully excessive to me. I know MIG is a good firm. They do quality work, but I think for this particular purpose, maybe you could give me an example of what an objective design standard might look like. What would it, clarify?
Yeah, so currently we actually have pretty minimal objective design standards. We have single-family guidelines, but those are not necessarily the same. One way that this has been proposed by the consultant to be implemented would be through preparing these objective design standards. So that would include specific details about it could be the architecture, but that has to be done in a way, and this is specified within SB 35, that is objective. So rather than just mentioning a specific architectural style, you would include specific aspects of what in that style would meet that architectural style. So that's one way you would see objective design standards implemented. This could also apply to height, I believe parking, if that's correct, and some of those other aspects as well. But it really helps with, from my understanding, having these objective design standards gives the ability to ensure that a proposal that comes in under SB 35 or SB 423 would have to meet these objective design standards to be approved. And without having them, because there are relatively minimal and it would just be based on our land use and zoning, that leaves a lot of options open for different proposals that might not necessarily meet the community's what the community wants. So the objective design standards might provide that opportunity for the community or our different bodies to provide some input on what this should look like.
So it's kind of, I guess, designed to give some predictability.
Yes.
So are we likely to end up with, cookie cutter projects? Multiple projects where, they look the same and ending up maybe looking somewhat bland or industrial?
So that would come with the different workshopping of the objective design standards and the process that is outlined in the scope and with what the consultant services have provided includes providing these opportunities for, like I said, the architectural advisory committee, city council, planning commission to all provide their input on what they might like to see these objective design standards look like or include. So you would be able to provide that at a future study session or something along those lines and provide input then.
So is the Coastal Commission the final word on these? Or is somebody else weighing in like HCD or?
So they would have to be, the code amendments would have to be adopted like any code amendment would be. But ultimately it will also go to the Coastal Commission since there would be changes to the municipal code as well as the land use plan, but not HCD.
Okay, one last question. I think you indicated that MIG had experience with these previously. Have we seen other things that they've done for other communities in California that are subject to this?
Yes, so with the request for proposals, we looked specifically at consulting firms that had worked in similar jurisdictions. Specifically, that was one area we really wanted to focus in on, ensuring they had worked within smaller communities or on the coastal zone. And we found MIG to have the most relevant experience, and combined with other aspects of their proposal, but that we thought would best meet our needs.
Yeah, I'm having some trouble understanding why we would want to do this. Number one, why do we want to spend $170,000 on it? Number two, Half Moon Bay is an eclectic community. It's made up of many different types of buildings. We have a local coastal plan that tells us that we want to do things like build more downtown, that we're going to increase density, that we want to use infill lots, that we want to go up rather than out. I'm just not sure why we want to do this. I just don't get it.
If I can answer, we don't want to do it. We have to do it. It's the law. SB 423 is an abomination in my humble opinion, but nobody ever asked me. If we didn't have objective design standards, it's my understanding that basically we would have to grant any development ministerial approval. So this is actually a way to make it a little bit better than what would happen if we didn't go with these standards. So it's a shame. That's all I can tell you.
Well, okay. I mean, if we have to come up with development standard, why don't we just write a general thing that says we want it to look pretty? You know, what do you mean by objective? Objective is such a funny word.
Objective is subjective, but
it is. Exactly. I don't know.
Do we have any more questions from council? Yes.
Just a quick comment. I really appreciate the great questions Councilmember Ruddick was asking. Appreciate that. You're very knowledgeable in this area. And I also greatly appreciate the very thorough responses from staff on that. I mean, really, very well prepared and thought out. And yeah, if we have to do it, let's do it right. And if it's got to go before the Coastal Commission, that'll definitely, having a vendor that knows what they're doing and not have it go back and forth, adding more and more time and effort is great. So, so thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you, Councilmember.
And also, the Coastal Commission had a meeting, a couple of months ago when they were talking about these bills. Coastal Commission staff was encouraging cities in the coastal zone to adopt these things. I felt it was really, really important. So.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions? Clarifying questions? We have public comment. Paul Nugget, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and City Council. Paul Nagengas, 229 Valdez Avenue. I want to make sure that, great concern and comments from the City Council, but that we do this right. I'm trying to, and I tried to ask Steve McHarris a little earlier if there were any projects waiting on this. If this is supposed to be implemented by January 1st, and here we are, September, putting something together. It looked like 423 was signed last year by the governor, so I'm not sure how it got into the budget in late July, and then we're doing this now. Granted, we got to do this, it needs to go forward. I get We know November, December is always tough to have meetings with the holiday season. So I don't believe there are any projects in the wings that are just waiting to jump in on January 1st, because I think it's important that we don't rush through this project, make sure we do it right, and then work with the Coastal Commission on any approvals. And anything we can do to try and get projects sooner so we don't feel that we're trying to rush to get something done would be fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Patricia Stevenson.
Hello again. So I don't have a lot to say on this. I understand why you guys have to try and push forward on this with the AB4 or SB 423. I believe it's an abomination as well. Although I did hear Mr. Brownstone say that builder's remedy may not apply to the coast during one of our recent meetings, and I was wondering if in the future you could expound on that. And I also wonder why we just keep saying it's a law. I understand it's a law, but there are a lot of communities that are kind of pushing back on this, and why aren't we saying something like, there's Amy Kalish, she started citizenmarin.org. A lot of communities are joining with her. She's trying to expand that statewide to Wake Up California, to where we could join communities together in strength in numbers to try and fight some of this garbage instead of just rolling over and saying we have to do it because it's the law. Maybe we could change that if we reach out to other communities and see what we can do. I know Solano County, I believe it was Solano, had a big win about them sticking to their building codes, not exceeding them, addressing the county, excuse me, I'm at a loss of thought right now, but addressing the county prior to starting any of these projects and making sure that it's staying within their particular building codes. So yeah, I would like to see you guys thinking about reaching out to other communities that are also not in favor of this, to seeing what we can do, you know, on the state level. I'm in contact with Amy Kalish. I've started a group email with her. We're going to try and start a local group, looking at people in next door, try and pull them in, get them to write the state legislature, etc. So yeah, I'd like to just not roll over and say, okay, you know, I'd like us to have a little bit of fight in that and see what we can do to push back. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any Zoom comments? No. No more speakers. Any comments from council members? No. I would like to make a motion.
Yeah, I move that we adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute professional services agreement with MIG Inc. for professional planning, zoning, and design consulting services to prepare multifamily objective design standards at a cost of $148,180 with a contingency of 15% for a total budget of $170,407.
Second.
Can I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Brownstone?
Yes.
Councilmember Reddick?
I'm going to vote yes. Outreach and education is going to be really important here.
Councilmember Penrose?
No.
Vice Mayor Barback?
Yes.
Mayor Jimenez?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Move on to future items of discussion. Yes. Yes.
I would like to agendize a discussion of how we can get better and more health care on the coast side, especially with an urgent care center. Hearing from the experts who can help us deal with issues like writing the Attorney General.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any other items?
Yeah, I would like us to write a letter to Rob Bonta explaining to him the need, desperate need for urgent care here on the coast. And to commend him for making such a great agreement with whatever they are, AHMC. But ask him to please come to Half Moon Bay and see that we need it. Inviting him here. Ask him to come. We'll pay for dinner.
He might be, depending on the outcome of the November election, he might be the U.S. Attorney General.
Yeah.
I'm guessing he's a candidate.
So maybe he'll come and have dinner and try to get our vote.
Better to get the invite sooner than later then. Yeah, I'll second that.
For clarification, are we going to combine both these items in one?
Get the letter out there in ASAP.
You can do that first.
Yeah, Joaquin can just sign it.
Let's do that
Okay.
first, separate, yeah.
My pen.
I would like to this might just be combinable as piggyback with what Harvey asked. I would like to request that we schedule a report out from County Health Department on Seton and just get whatever information data they have.
Sounds good. Second?
That would be part of what I'm talking about.
Part of it, yeah.
It's just, right, staff's got it, great, thanks.
Can you get on the microphone, please?
So my feeling is all of the actors ought to be involved in that. Anna Esche ought to be here, Ray Muller ought to be here, everybody from Seton, everybody from county, all of, our age-friendly group, and all the people that go to that meeting, the Stanford people, the Kaiser people.
I completely concur.
We need signs.
I think what we're hearing is probably a special meeting. That's a
Special
workshop
meeting.
just on this topic.
Big workshop on this soon, because one of the things that has me concerned is that in the renovations of Seton Coastside, if they finish up all the renovations, putting in a new ER with no facilities to do emergency medicine, like they've always done, but putting in an ER and a SNF and not putting in an urgent care because it hasn't been demanded, that we'll never get it. Now is the time. Now is the time. They haven't finished the construction there. They say it's not going to be done till the spring. Now's when we want to get it done.
Yeah, this workshop should end up with some actionable items that can actually do something.
We have enough direction for that, yeah.
I think we should get also a copy of the analysis done by the medical guy, the doctor.
Tuciosi?
Yeah, who looked
Yeah.
at the stats. I think we need to get the stats and distribute those. Those are important justifiers
Yeah.
for, yeah.
Sounds good, yeah. Commissions or committee updates?
We did have a Recreation Commission meeting last week. I don't know if John is in the back room, if he can come forward and provide an update.
Chris, you have an update, Crystalline?
He was in the lobby having a conversation and didn't hear us.
I'm buffering. On the healthcare thing, since MCC is also so invested in that, could I recommend that a workshop be done somewhere in the middle, kind of like Sam's Chowder House or something like that, so that MCC feels included and the North Coast people can make it a little bit easier?
I think Claire has been at every meeting that we've had with Seton, and she is going to promote it. And I don't think the venue matters so much as having a space where a lot of people from the public can come. I'm not sure having it at a restaurant.
Or even Ray's space or something like that. I just.
Raised space is small. You know, this is a big room. You know, we could get a lot of people in here. I don't know.
I just know that a lot of North Coasters have a hard time making it downtown for workshops and stuff like that. So I would just suggest something in the middle might be really a nice.
Parks and Rec update. Last week, we had our meeting, Wednesday, and a couple of, I think, interesting things. One, coming up on the 17th, RJ and I will present the Commission's request to add 2 youth members to the Commission. And so we will bring that on the 17th, and with just a general discussion with the idea of, with your consent and direction, to come back in October 1 meeting with the resolution changing their bylaws. The Planning Commission, or the Parks and Rec Commission, unlike the Planning Commission, was created through the ordinance, but actually all the specifics of their commission is through resolution and bylaws rather than by ordinance, so we can make these revisions relatively quickly. The other major piece of the conversation was a great conversation, I think, with the Friends of Parks and Recreation, and just a discussion, and I think a heartfelt discussion about what they see their role as, what, where potential intersections of the Commission's interest, the city's interest, and where the Friends are. It's a conversation that will continue with it, but I think it was a very valuable conversation for all to kind of get that out there. And we also received a positive update from Public Works on where they see us heading forward with the Carter Park. So that was I think, welcomed by the Commission as well. So that's the basic of what we talked about. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Any questions for John? No. City Council reports? No. Meeting adjourned. Sold.